students. So we are back again with our class 11th political science, and today we will be doing the second chapter of your book Political Theory. The reason is, though we will be doing both the books alternately, but why I have begun with the chapter of freedom is because when we were doing the first chapter of Indian Constitution at work, then that first chapter was a very detailed chapter which involved a few chapters of as per the old syllabus, that is the chapter on Constitution, the chapter on rights provided in the Constitution, the chapter which read about the amendments provided in the Constitution, and the chapter which involved the philosophy of the Constitution. So altogether you could say that was one detailed chapter combining the concept from 4 chapters. So that's why it was a lengthy one. So today in the last lecture of political science, I had explained to you, we have completed with the basic introduction about what is political theory. The introduction, why do we study political theory, the relationship between politics and political theory. That was all what we did. So as I told you earlier, that we basically in political theory study the ideas on which the laws are based, or the ideas which are the line principles on which the laws of the country or the society is governed. So today we will be beginning with the second chapter, and that is which is dealing with the concept of idea of freedom. Before I actually come to the main concept that what is freedom, see, in political science it is always very good if you keep on studying about some case studies or about some leaders who are associated with the concept. That will not only make your chapter interesting, but it will give you an added knowledge, exemplary knowledge. Today we are when we are talking about the concept of freedom, then we will be talking about 2 leaders. One is Mr. Nelson Mandela from South Africa, and the other is a leader from Myanmar, that is Aung San Suu Kyi. I know most of you must be already aware about both of them because they are very eminent personalities on the world scenario, a symbol for their struggle for freedom. If you talk about first Nelson Mandela from South Africa, so Nelson Mandela is known for his struggle against the apartheid regime in South Africa. In his book, in his autobiography, that is Long Walk to Freedom, he has talked a lot about his struggle with the apartheid regime. Apartheid means the discrimination based on the color. And secondly, he has also talked about his resistance to the segregationist policies of the white regime. Not only this, he has also talked about the various humiliations, hardships and brutalities that were suffered by the blacks in South Africa due to their white rulers. For all these things, he spent 28 years of his life in jail, and among which most of it was in solitary confinement, because the rulers, they did not want that his ideas may be spread to the other prisoners. So he often was confined, was kept in solitary confinement. So just imagine, a man gave 28 years of his life, of his youth, of his time with his family, of his time to enjoy, of his time to exist and survive in the society just for the sake of the freedom of his people. So that was a very, very noble thing on account of Mr. Nelson Mandela, and which brought about a remarkable change in the white regime in South Africa. So this was an example of a man who gave up his comforts, his life, his youth for the sake of achieving the goal of freedom for his people. The second case, as I told you earlier, is of Aung San Suu Kyi. She was strongly inspired by Gandhiji's thoughts on non-violence, and she was kept in house arrest in her home in Myanmar and was separated from her children. She could not also go to visit her dying husband when he was dying from cancer in England, because that once she will leave the country, she will not be allowed to come back. So she gave up her family just for the sake of freedom. So according to her, she, in a book of essays, that is Freedom from Fear, she has written that freedom is freedom from fear, which is essential for leading a dignified life. And she said that we must not be afraid of people's opinion or attitude of authority or the reaction of the community, because often the community will oppose us on various places, on various grounds, on various issues. So we should not be afraid of the other people's opinion or the authority, because that is what freedom stands for. So these two leaders, who are a symbol for their struggle for freedom, duly highlight the fact that how important freedom is for a particular individual. So now comes the question that actually what is freedom? Many people say that freedom basically means, I ask you, what do you mean by freedom? Many of you will say that freedom means that nobody should control us. We should be allowed to work as per our will. Yes, that is one aspect. That freedom basically means absence of constraints. But just think coolly for a while. Does absence of constraints reality is the complete meaning of freedom? Do the absence of constraint will not make your freedom limitless? Therefore, there is one more aspect. This is one aspect, absence of constraint. Another aspect of freedom is that freedom basically means expanding the ability of people to freely express themselves and to develop their potential. So this is the condition in which people can develop their creativity and capabilities. So if you combine both these concepts, then on one hand, freedom means absence of constraints, and on the other hand, freedom means you could say freedom means expanding our creative abilities and to fulfill and develop our potential fully. So these two parts are, you could say, two sides of the coin for the term freedom. Now, if in terms of society, I ask you, what is a free society signify? So a free society is one where all the members develop their potential with minimum constraints. Again, see, I am using this word with minimum constraints because, as I have written here, these constraints can be divided into two main parts. First, those which are acceptable or the justified ones, and those which are unacceptable and they have to be removed. So some constraints are very necessary to give a complete meaning to our freedom. On the other hand, there are some constraints which should be immediately removed because they are putting unnecessary control over our capabilities. So freedom allows us to make choices and to exercise our judgment. So reasoning and judgment, both the things is allowed if we are having freedom. Now, from where are these constraints arrive? From where do these constraints arrive? Firstly, there are some constraints who are imposed by force. There are some constraints which are imposed by the government through laws. For example, in case of the colonial rule in South Africa, the constraints which are put on the blacks, they were imposed by the government. Then there are some other types of concern which result from social inequality, such as the constraints that are implicit in the caste system or which result from extreme economic inequality in a society. So these are the various reasons, these are the various sources from where these constraints arise. A very important aspect of it is, why do we need constraints? Do we need constraints or do we not need constraints? But before I tell you why do we need constraints, one thing should be very clear to all of you, that basically freedom means freedom of mind, freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of being able to do things according to our own will. So, freedom cannot be called simply the absence of constraints. Why? Because some constraints are very necessary to fulfill the meaning of freedom. And to be free means to reduce or minimize the social constraints that limit our ability to make choices freely. However, this is only one aspect of freedom. The other one is that freedom has a positive dimension and it widens the area in which an individual survives. So it allows the full development of an individual's creativity, sensibilities and capabilities, be it in a sports, be it in science, be it in art, music or exploration. So why do we need freedom? Why do we need these constraints? We need these constraints because if there will be a total absence of constraint, then it would cause a total chaos in the society. There will be total recklessness in the society. For example, you have certain parking laws. Now that okay, you cannot park the car outside. In Bareilly only, you see, you have a mall. So sometimes what happens, people park the car outside the mall, which creates a lot of chaos, a lot of traffic disturbances. So there is a law that you will only park the car in the parking. Now is this law limiting your freedom? You would say yes, it is my car, I will park the car wherever I want. But if that will happen, then it will lead to a total chaos. This I am giving you only a general example. This happens in each and every case. Some or the other constraint is necessary to actually give you the right to enjoy your freedom, because without it you will not be able to enjoy. So some mechanism is required to control this recklessness and violence and to settle the disputes. So ideally you could say that in a free society we should be able to hold our views, we should be able to develop our own rules of living and pursue your choices. But for this, it requires the willingness to respect the opinions, beliefs and differences. We will continue this topic of constraints and another important thing, that is the harm principle, in the second part of this chapter, which we will be doing in the next lecture. Till then, keep studying, stay safe.